if someone gave me 20k, I could flip that, or 50k or 100k. I know I can flip that.
Flipper.
I know I can flip that.
The popular narrative is, for most people, the minute they get any decent amount of money is to buy your first house. And that's what people do. They take a 10% deposit or a 20% deposit, whatever it might be, and they buy a house. Why is that a poor investment?
Oh, right.
Why is that a bad thing to do? Because that does kind of sit counter to the popular narrative.
Well, we have to remember, first of all, where the popular narrative came from. In America, if you ask people what is the American dream, the answer is inextricably tied up with a single family home with a white picket fence. That's not an accident. That is the result of decades of messaging. Some might call it propaganda. First of all, most people in the world do not live in single family homes like we do in America. That has caused a lot of issues, but to leave...
What do you think is the British dream?
I
was thinking in America.
No, but I thought we borrowed their dream though.
Yeah.
We borrowed the American dream and we say, do you know what I mean?
Just want a house.
Yeah.
We want bigger houses. Because we see their houses and we're like...
Yeah, we've always aspired to be American before.
For real. I feel like with life, man, everyone has this narrative of if you're going down the uni route, you finish uni, you buy a house, blah, 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 you get married, blah, blah, have kids, that's
I think that is the dream, innit?
Yeah.
Like, you go, you do your thing, you get into a relationship, get married, have your kids in the house, and then you stay there forever, and then you pass it on to your grandkids.
Do you know what,
I don't know.
I think back in the day, I feel like if we look at the stats again, maybe I need to in the video, maybe got some stats coming up. But when you back in the day, I feel like real estate would have made the most millionaires by accident, by people investing in property.
By accident.
You know, a couple of properties back in the day, and then they went up in value, and all of a sudden, they were millionaires.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like a lot more millionaires come from starting businesses, social media, and places like that, and online businesses as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a bit of both. I understand to one degree that owning a home at the end of the day is still a very secure investment.
Yeah.
It will guarantee you a certain level of wealth in the future, but also maybe mixing that in with starting a business and doing that kind of stuff. I feel like the dream has slightly changed back in the day, even in America, but here as well. So do you know what I mean? I understand why though someone would still want to have a home and feel like that is part of his dream.
I think another reason why buying a house it's seen as a good thing or whatnot is because it's tangible. Like you can see it. Like it's an investment, but it's tangible. Yep. When you invest in stocks and shares and stuff like that, it's online numbers, blah, blah, blah. You can't feel it, you can't touch it, you can't go there kind of thing. And because of that, people feel like it's a little bit more safer.
Okay, yeah.
And you got to think about security as well. People think, even if it's an investment, you think when there's a house, worst case scenario, I'll go and live there, I'll go and move there, at least I've got somewhere to
That's
kind of
how
lay
I
my
see
hand
it.
in. That's why people look at that. Houses is like, yes, let me sort that out first, and then everything else can follow.
What are you thinking?
I mean, I'm kind of with Goke. Like, people need to see houses like, okay, is it an investment? But also, it's a security. Like, this is something that you can fall back on. It's almost like a savings, too. Like, you've just purchased this big thing. Worst case scenario, you can sell it. Worst. Like, if things are that peak, you can sell it. So, I just feel like people need to also bear that in mind. And they don't really... I mean, let's just hear this and then...
Okay, let me hear the next bit.
Yeah, all right.
That part aside, this is how most people think about buying a house. They think, grandma bought a house in Austin, Texas in 1970 for $100,000. Grandma just sold it 50 years later for $1 million. Grandma made $900,000.
Wow, grandma.
They go, it's the most profitable thing you could do, buy a house. I go, okay, that sounds really nice. Did Granny factor in how much she spent on maintenance for the past 50 years? No. Did Granny factor in inflation and how that affected her return? No. What's inflation? Did Granny factor in the opportunity costs of what that down payment could have been used if invested in the S&P 500?
You know what?
Them S&P, man.
Them man there.
No, but like I was just going to say, like, they're talking about did Granny factor in all these things, but this is why we always say do your numbers, because in your profits, you're going to say 10% to the side for maintenance, maybe. So these are things that we would have factored in anyway. So it's wrong to assume not everyone is already factoring those things in my opinion. But what do you guys think?
I'll take from the other point of view, because it's kind of what we did, to be fair. Like the first time we invested in property was, or for you guys, for example, was to buy a house to live in. Then you realize actually with that 20k or that 15k or whatever it was, actually you can probably do more for the money. So I'm gonna do a rent to rent business. Do you know what I'm saying? And after rent to rent business, you start to get creative and start leveraging your own money with investors, etc. So I kind of have to look at it and go, to be fair, if I could start again, or if someone right now was supposed to give me 50k, would I buy a house, or what would I do with it basically?
That's a
and
very...
I would 100% not buy a house. Like I've got a house to live in, I've got a couple of houses invested in already. So let me either leverage it for a flip to make that money back and make more money with it, or I'll put it into another business. Or
What about someone who's starting fresh though?
I still think like you know, for anyone that's starting off fresh, you know, take advantage of the first time buyers, you know, opportunity, you know, 5%. You know, if you can put down as little as 10k or 15k or 20k to get a property, I still would do it. You know what I mean? But after that first initial property and that security, the next thing after that would be investing, because you almost secure your future with that property. You know, that if you got one or two of those in 10, 20, 30 years, worst case you can sell it, you can remortgage it, you're good. After that, I'll put it into a business, because I know right now if someone gave me 20k, I could flip that, or 50k or 100k. I know I can flip that.
Flipper.
I know I can flip that.
If you want to see that, by the way,
I'm not gonna put it into one property, rent it out for years. I'll definitely use it for something.
if they want to
else.
see that, by the way, you want to see how we would use 50k, like the video, comment, and then we might do that video.
Well, I got a video, I got a flip right now, so
Hey,
subscribe and I'm gonna put some content out soon about that.
No, but I hear that, and I think I kind of hear a little bit what he's saying as well. Obviously, we listen to it, but I think another good point he made is about inflation. Like, what's 1 mil gonna be in the next, say, 30 years? It might not
true,
be
you
as
know.
1 mil. What's the 1 mil gonna do for you?
It's true.
I hate to relate back to
That's
Nigeria,
it.
but I'm hearing there's a lot with the exchange rate. It's mad at the moment.
bro, when we
in
were
Nigeria.
there, 2019 we went.
Yeah.
What, £1 was like 400.
Right, it's
naira.
over 1,000.
Now, it's almost 3 times.
Something like that.
even worse now.
It's crazy,
Three
apparently.
times
So,
that.
so yeah, so I kind of hear it. Like 1 mil might not be one. It's not going to be 1 mil in the next. You know, blah 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 years. It might only be worth 600. So
That's true.
my man thinking I made £900, 900k is no.
That
no,
could be
it's
worth
relative,
200k
relative, yeah,
It's
of course.
relative.
Relative,
in his
so
time. Yeah.
I kind of hear that.
All right, cool.
And did Granny look at all these phantom costs such as interest on the loan? No. It's not simply the bigger number minus the smaller number. That's wrong. That is simplistic. For the biggest purchase of your life, you've got to go deeper. Again, when I was living here, I kept a very close eye on real estate. And the place right next to me, same square footage, same number of bedrooms, same everything. It would have cost 2.2 times what I was paying in rent. So just to give you an example, if I was paying $3,000 a month, it would have cost about $6,400 a month to own. Okay. I said, you know what? I like renting. If I have a problem, I just text my landlord. I took the $3,400 I would have spent owning when factoring in phantom costs, maintenance, interest, taxes, all that, and I simply invested it. And I made more money doing that than I would have.
What Akon was saying, isn't it?
What about if you're buying somewhere for the rental income?
That can work. That can work. So owning real estate as an investment can be part of a well-diversified portfolio if you run the numbers. Right now, there's a lot of hype. People go, I'm going to buy a house, and if I don't like it or whatever, I'm just going to rent it out. Okay, fine. But you've got to remember that if your mortgage is $1,000, that's not just the amount you're paying.
Bro.
There's a lot more. In fact, in my estimations, I add 50% to that price.
No,
There's a lot of
Do you know what? Yeah.
ins
Do you know what? Yeah. There's another video by what's this guy's name? Is it Gabriel?
Zion, yeah.
Yeah,
I
Zion.
feel like we should watch that after.
We should do that after, because
yeah.
he talks about he breaks down the
down.
cost of, and we'll pull it straight after. Breaks down the cost of living, literally, for renting a flat. What the actual cost at the end of the month. And I looked there and I think it came up to, like, for an average person for like one bed, it was like £3,000. And I was like, right.
That's
What's
how much
left
you need.
over?
Yeah, the mortgage might be like £1,000, 1.2, but at the end of it, it's like £3,000. I'm like, so you have to be earning £3,000 clean a minminimum to move, like, to live
To
in your own
even
flat.
be okay.
That's good. You don't even realize how much you spend in a month, literally.
And life has moved on. I was telling Ken earlier, like I remember back in the days where 2.5, you're earning 2.5 a month. It's good.
That's
you're
like 40K, I think,
What do I
after
need?
tax.
Yeah. Like, it's, 2.5, man. What's there? But
Now,
especially if you live in London,
imagine you got a family.
bro.
Kids.
Imagine your family and kids. That's not. And even to add to the point he was making, like when it comes to investing and property and stuff, yeah, I think we have this narrative of you buy for X, you
It's
refurbish
not,
your X
man.
and you sell for X.
How many times have you done a project and it went over budget?
Bro,
What about
every single
delays?
time.
Have you
Bro,
been factoring delays?
Time delays.
Like
Also.
things happen. There's cost involved. Like
Bro.
even talking about commercial to residential stuff that we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not you buy for this, the builder's quoted you this, you sell for this.
It's never
There's
like-
other factors.
it's never factor.
You got to think about the interest rate for the borrowing, whatever money you're borrowing. You
That's
got to
probably the
think
biggest
about,
one, innit? That's
Bro,
probably the biggest one that people don't
Yes,
see.
you got to get structural survey done. You get the architect done,
And the stress of it all.
bro.
And
Actual
sometimes
stress.
they can turn around and say,
Engineer.
you know what, that wall's not done properly, rip it all down.
100%.
Another
That
time
happens,
wasted,
100%.
more
That
costs.
happens.
Like I relate back to the door sourcing business. I feel like there's no overheads. Do you know what I'm saying? You making 2, 3, 4 grand a pop. You can easily get to 20 grand quicker with that way than to maybe do an investment or flip. I just thought we need to really step
was a
back and,
quick plug,
and
innit?
run the numbers.
Quick plug, sourcing.
Shout me, you
Come
can
on,
source.
come on.
No, but 100% though, man. I think definitely when people are looking at property, trying to invest in property, don't just look at how much I'm buying it for, how much I'm going to refurb, and how much I'm going to sell it. Like, there's so many other costs, and that's why we always use our dual analyzers.
Yep.
Like, we plug everything in.
And
like,
he's the master. He
Literally.
stresses
Yeah,
tests
plug
everything.
everything.
There's no, because you can get emotional when it comes to property. You just think, oh, right.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, this is 200k. Okay,
I love
can
it,
get
though.
200k, but emotions just put it outside the door. Leave it outside the door when it comes to property investing, man. Because boy, you cry after.
Yeah.
So $1,500 a month, which would include a roof repair happening 19 years from now. We've got to amortize that out. Labor costs, interest, all that. If you can rent it out and make a profit, fantastic.
Can I just pause it there though? Because it's not a balanced argument that he's been having. And I feel like if you just listen to that last little comment, if you can rent it out and make a profit, fantastic. Because obviously when we do our numbers, that's exactly what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want people to see this and hear this and be put off, because he's talking to a group of people that aren't looking at numbers, and he's saying look at the numbers, which we fully agree with. But we're saying if you look at the numbers, you can rent out a property and earn some profit.
Yeah.
You know
Do you
what
know
I'm
what I'm gonna
saying?
say? That's really really important actually.
What?
I feel like it's exactly that, but adding to that is the strategy. Do you know what I'm saying? Back in the day, you buy a property, you rent it out to a standard family. Now, what do? We get the property, we might rent it as an Airbnb, as a HMO. Right now, we're doing a lot of supported living. We might rent to a business. We might do it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So now we're actually maximizing that rent. It's not about just renting it. It's about maximizing that rent. And if you can still do that in good areas,
That's
bro,
what
you
I'm
can rent
saying.
your property. People are making crazy money doing
Bro,
Airbnb.
No.
and bro,
Supported living right now,
100%.
industry
crazy. The house you even live in, let's say that you're not really on that whole business hype, but you just want a house that you live in that earns you money. Okay, take in like extra like lodgers or
100%.
something like that. Lodgers can actually pay for all of your
Bills,
mortgage and
100%.
bills, or they can cover bills for you and things like that. So if it's that desperate, if you're that desperate, then you can easily just take someone in
100%.
as an option as well. So
100%.
there are options out there that you can do to make you money.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. That's a good
So
point.
cool.
It cash flows. That's awesome. What you discover is that most people who buy a primary residence, the place they want to live in, they buy it because they want it, and then they tell themselves it's an investment. Buying a house can be an investment, but oftentimes it's not. And there are far better, far simpler investments. Here's my key message. I want to make sure nobody misunderstands me. I've been accused of saying buying a house is bad. No, I never said that. In fact, I will buy a house myself one day. And when I do, it's going to be a terrible financial decision. But I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
My
fair.
key message is for
You
the
know what? Yeah,
biggest
can we pause it
purchase
there
of
as well?
your
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Because I think that's an important point. You know, not everything you're gonna do is gonna be an investment. Like sometimes we just take the L.
I want a house.
Yeah, sometimes I want a nice
four-bedroom
car. I
house.
want a nice car. I want to lease a very, very nice car. I'm gonna pay that £500. Guess what? Because I can afford it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're gonna get a nice watch because you can afford it. Sometimes you're gonna buy a big house because
Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be every
say
single-
the Rolex was the investment. Man.
like you
Yeah,
have to
don't
always
lie.
like
Yeah, man, the investment,
justify
Yeah, don't
why
lie.
you bought what you
Yeah,
bought.
you know what I'm saying?
Nah,
As long as
no
you're-
need.
I think the key thing you said before was cash flow. If your cash flow is good, you can spend certain expenses. If everything expensive is relative.
Yeah.
Like if something's gonna cost you, a mortgage is gonna cost you, £3,000 a month, but you're earning 15k. That £3,000 to you is light.
For real.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I just think that's just something.
To have in mind.
Yeah.
My key message is for the biggest purchase of your life, you've got to run the numbers. Sometimes buying can be a good financial decision. Often renting can be a good financial decision. Run the numbers and never feel guilty for renting.
But that's,
I like
that's just to even add to that.
I really like
I like that. Yeah.
Just to go back a little bit, yeah, bro. Especially with the interest rates now, yeah. if you look at the paperwork that you sign for your mortgage, there's a bit in it that says we're borrowing you 200k, but in 25 years you're gonna pay back 600, 700.
So we ignore
it.
We clear the eyes.
But you know how mad that is?
That's a
Kind of mad, you know.
You're borrowing 200k today,
Bro, it's
but you
kinda-
think, oh, it's in 30 years.
Bro.
But you're paying back.
These lending
500,
companies are crooks.
Bro.
They're crooks, but this
And
is
the
how
thing
they
is-
make their money, innit?
Yeah, and we go for it. And we go-
Capitalism beat.
it's
That's how they make
crazy.
my money. But yeah, just have that in mind as well, man. It's not
Yeah.
always every day buy a house. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's businesses out there that you can do that
Yeah.
will- with less overheads, like you were
There
saying.
you go.
lot
I
less
think
overheads.
overall this was this was a good conversation. I think everything you said is facts. Like if you're gonna do this, run your numbers. And I think what Akin said is important. The way it's like not every investment you make is gonna be an investment. Sometimes you could just be buying a house, and it's not gonna be the best financial choice that you can ever make. But it's what you want, and maybe sometimes see it as more of a security.
Yeah, it's gonna make you
That's
whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, that part.
I mean, it's near the school, so your kids can go to school. You know, your wife can be happy.
Yeah, for real. Don't
Like,
forget-
you know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying, in a good neighborhood as well.
I don't feel guilty
I don't feel good about renting.
And don't feel about giving rent.
about renting.
Exactly.
That's it. All right, cool.
All right, cool, man.
Nice. All right, peace.
Peace.
Peace.